before starting off the whole thing, I would like to basically explain the power of APIs. And for that, I want a volunteer, not NatWest people, please. A volunteer to whom I can transfer money to the bank account just by scanning face. Anybody? Not ex-NatWest also. Those who are left NatWest. Yeah, come. Good, good, good. Hopefully it works. Doesn't give any production incidents. Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm registering you on this app. Okay? Good. Give your phone number out here. I believe this phone number is linked to UPI.
Yeah.
Good, good. Click on the consent. See. Yeah. Good. 5 rupees. Now, let me scan your face. So you're Sachi Madhukar. I'm paying you now. Yeah, check your account. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's not being debited now. I'm entering the UPI code. Check. Yeah, you can go it anywhere you want to see. Maybe on the message also you can see.
Yes.
Got it? Good, good, good. Finally it worked. Thank you, guys. So with that, we will be talking about how we are reimagining banking at NatWest. Good. Let me see if I can. Yeah, got it. So first and foremost, what we are doing with the NatWest. So one small video which can display what this NatWest is all about. Previously called as RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland. Oh, sound is not coming.
Market first, smoother digital journeys, enhanced customer experiences. Here are a few of our game-changing solutions. Pay It, multi-award-winning payment product. Pay without debit or credit card details. Variable recurring payments, reimagining regular transactions. Control, flexibility, security. Confirmation of payee. Access our name-checking service through your own systems. Customer attribute sharing connects businesses to our data and streamlines online experiences. Direct access. View real-time NatWest account data in your own systems. Make and track straight-through payments directly. What could our APIs do for your business? NatWest, Bank of APIs. Bring your ideas to life.
Great. So what we have seen what NatWest is doing within the world of APIs. But if I talk about, that is not at all easy. The challenge was there, which is I believe in every fintech world, the legacy core systems which have been there for decades and decades. A tightly coupled architecture with mainframe, COBOL databases, DB2 databases, which is very, very inefficient to maintain. If I talk about, these are the one which is basically not adaptable to API economy, which is fast-paced. And if you build a digitalized solution on top of this legacy infrastructure as well, what it becomes highly difficult to scale. And we've seen these problems day in, day out, when we are having those particular production issues happening because of this particular digital core systems. So what we basically end up seeing on all these legacy core systems, the long release cycles. Basically, if you talk about one single change, that one single change in one of the attributes takes somewhere around 6 months because of the monolithic in nature. That means you don't need to compile one small service, you need to compile the whole service. That means every component which the central layer is talking to, the core is talking to, they need to be tested. So what we have risk of outages, we are not able to meet compliance gaps, and what we lose the game in the market. We lose the competition. We lose the API-driven market. Now, how do we try to solve this? This is a kind of a legacy architecture that we see mostly in all of the banks. This is not NatWest. This is something you can search on Google. You will get this particular architectures. So what do you have? You have in the center, there is a MAS layer, which is mainframe access server, which talk to DB2, which talk to KICS, and they in turn talks to DB2 storage, KICS files, and in turn they basically get down to the literally low level of database complexities. On the top of it, it's not API layer which is there. On the top of it, there's the enterprise developer platform which is there, which is somewhere on SQL databases or KICS, which requires again a developer community in order to access data. So in this particular architecture, if you require to do any change, that is definitely humongous, definitely enormous, and definitely not comes with any risk factors. So this is a simple architecture, and what we really want to have something like this, which is highly scalable, digital first experience, easy to maintain. Now, can we do it in a big bang thing? Just basically take it off, put it in. No. Let me start with a question. How many of you have heard or have worked on legacy core banking transformation project? Or a multi-year core banking transformation project? Yes. One thing which exactly comes out is definitely is over the long period. What comes out? They are very, very expensive. They are at high risk. And unfortunately, many of them doesn't make it to live also. Why? Because first and foremost, they look very good on papers. They're a multi-year project, quite ambitious. They have a proper plan laid out. But halfway through, you understand that customer has evolved. The market has changed. New regulations has come up. Due to which what shall happen, that particular whole project are either been told to basically wait, give a pause, or try next year. Or there is no funding left, so it's basically left swamped. Now, what is happening and what needs to be changed? One thing that we require to basically emphasize on, that is customer driving the innovation. That means at the heart of it, we have to think customer first. So even if we try and of innovating the legacy architecture as it is, it brings disruption to the customer service. Like for example, in the previous slide I mentioned that there is a common layer. Try to bring this particular whole thing, who will get impacted? Customers who will get impacted. So what does bank need? Bank needs safe and incremental modernization. It doesn't require a big bang to happen in order to basically transform into the core microservices-based architecture. So what can help? API can be the key thing that can help as a bridge. Why? Because API can abstract all the legacy. That means all your dirty, filthy things stay later behind with the use of an API and give an API at the top of it. For example, if I talk about implementing payments, is quite a trivial thing. I think most of the people have basically worked or heard about payment services, have seen payments not working, either with ATMs or with the apps. I was lucky in my FacePay app, the payment worked. Had it been UPI down, it would not have worked. So with respect to that, if you think about it, hiding this whole complexity, that wherein you basically get the payment status, you check the customer verification, then you basically check the account balance, check the limit, everything can be hidden behind the use of with the APIs. That means it can basically hide all the legacy complexity which are there and enable step-by-step modernization. Also, what APIs can do, APIs can bring ideation to valuation in a short span of time. consider for this example that in that previous FacePay app, I've actually used 5 APIs behind the scenes. I've used a face detection API, face recognition API. We have used the payment API, UPI verification API. But what it has made? It has made a simple, easy product. So this API, which we are thinking about it, to transforming the core, can basically ease the whole customer journey as well, and we can bring innovative products as well. Apart from that, it can build the relationship with the fellow banks, fellow fintech companies, by exposing APIs to the outside world. For example, every bank kind of consider every data as their own proprietary data. Even if the customer want to give a consent and want to share the data, it becomes trouble for the bank to share it because they are a cloud native thing. With the use of APIs, now they are giving the power to the customers and making customers as a real king, wherein customers now getting an option to choose where he or she wants to bank upon. So this is kind of an architecture that will gonna look like with this step-by-step modernization. So if I talk about in this thing, the bottom layer, which we are seeing in the yellow color, the bold yellow color, the 3 things, these are basically the mainframe layers, if I talk about. So mainframe system of records, mainframe specific middleware APIs, generic middleware APIs. What we are trying to do, we are trying to basically hide this particular whole thing with this API management suite. Now what we are providing APIs on the top of this legacy infrastructure that we have. Happens we are providing authentication with respect to customer, providing registration, providing sandbox capability, providing analytics on top of it, and end-to-end API lifecycle management. For that, what we try to believe, we try to have a scalable infrastructure in place and hiding all the legacies that we have. But this doesn't come out with the risks. So what we have to think about when we are going in the safe incremental way, we have to think about few critical building blocks. The first and foremost, API gateways and the consent management. As customer is the king and customer is the heart of thing, we have to think about how customer can trust with the bank. For that, we have to give them the secure way of accessing the data. We have to think about having the customer buy-in in place before sharing the data as well. And as we have seen with respect to GDPR regulation, this has now become the key across all the world. If I talk about within India also, this has become one of the key things right now to think about customer consent. That's why when I've transferred the money, I've taken your consent, please. So that information will not be shared. All right? So with respect to that, customers should always know to which third party, to which internal system they are giving this particular data and why they are giving this data. So this builds the whole trust with the financial institutions when we talk about that. And also, we don't need to forget about the regulatory alignment is the key for this. For example, if I talk about, you tend to be dicey on when you are downloading the app, whether I should download this app, what all information this app will basically access. And you tend to basically go in a more kind of a risk-aware view. But if somebody tell you that particular whole backup, that this particular app is basically kind of regulated by RBI, for example, in that case, that builds a particular trust. So that's where the regulatory alignment, if you do it, like for example, somebody's talking about open banking regulations. So third party who rely with the open banking, they basically trust the open banking consortium, and that open banking consortium build a particular trust with the third party, and that's how the particular whole forum of OBI was formed. That means customers now tend to more use a particular third party app, which is basically being certified by OBI. So same thing, with respect to that regulatory alignment is the key. Now considering another aspect of it, when we're building APIs, we have to think about that now this API that we're building, we're not building it from scratch. Things will fail because we are having an hybrid architecture. That means some part of legacy, some part is modern. And when thinking about this legacy architecture, when we're thinking about this particular complexity, things will fail. I know some of these people may have got a call, and that's why they are not attending it. That could be related to the production incident that they may have received. So what we have to think about patterns and architecture in place wherein we can resolve this particular issues which can happen in production. That means we can resolve or we can react to the customer's need. We can basically react to whatever is basically API which are basically being called. That means there should be an end-to-end traceability being there so that we can react if there is any failure. And above and all, we need to make sure APIs are 99.9% available. I'm not saying 100% because right now Amazon also doesn't promise 100%. So what we are saying that we should basically need to have the maximum resiliency, the availability of an APIs. So these are the things that we have to think in our mind when we are transforming any of the banking core systems. So together what we have done, we have started, and now coming on to the NatWest journey. So NatWest basically started with the same concept. Still also there is a legacy transformation program which is still happening. But still we have basically gone in the step-by-step model wherein we have transformed from the core infrastructure to the microservices-based architecture which is talking to cores. So basically hide all the complexity. We did that with OpenBanking in 2018. With respect to OpenBanking, we build microservice on top of the core microservice and basically build products like AIS product and PIS products. Now we are moving towards open economy. We are basically in the mid-step between open finance. Now we are building discretionary product for our customers. So if I talk about discretionary products like variable recurring payment is one of the discretionary products. If I talk about customer attributes sharing, one of the key products that we have seen it also, wherein we are customers sharing their age and address to the third parties based on the consent. So some of these products that we are in the process of building it and also taking the regulatory buy-in. And above all, we are going in a direction of smart data. When I talk about smart data, data which is basically itself contain the other metadata information along with it, so that APIs become quite intelligent enough to figure it out what is the data that we're exposing to third parties. And going forward, it will be containing insurance data, mortgage data, and other utilities data. Open banking within NatWest has been a qualified success. What we have seen, 9 million active users. Out of 9 million active users in UK, what we have seen there, somewhere around 7 million users have consumed the APIs. And this is, I'm talking about the last year data. This year data is 15 million active users, and NatWest has grown by 11 million. What we have seen is 15 million payments happening per month, out of which 3.5 million happening per month with respect to NatWest brand. And when I talk about NatWest brand is not a single brand. NatWest, over the period of 300 years, acquired various banks also. So NatWest is kind of, if we talk about a consortium of RBS, UBN, UBR, Ulster Bank North, Ulster Bank South, then Coutts, Adams. These are also a part of Royal Bank of Scotland Group. And 4 minutes left, sorry, thank you. And what we talk about, how we are now evolving. We are now evolving at a pace where more and more third parties are coming up, signing up with OBI, as well as they are signing up as a partner with the bank. The trust the customer has right now with the bank, these customers have given the particular leverage to third parties to build that particular whole thing and build a competitive products for the bank. So if I talk about, right now it's only 10% population which are using API in UK. As compared to us, we are somewhere around 70 to 80% using APIs for our day-to-day needs, but this is not something which is happening in UK. So still there's a potential of APIs to grow in that particular market. Still people are using credit card and direct debit cards, which is still being there. People have not transformed themselves onto the UPI thing. Right now, adoption to account data and data services still being lagged. And this is something open banking, OBI is also still looking at it. And with that, I would basically end up saying that this is our developer portal. Go and visit our developer portal, bankofapis.com. You will get all the information. You can play around with Sandbox. You will get all the APIs information on this particular catalog. You can test API also out there. And you can read the latest news about what NatWest is doing in the world of APIs. All right, with that, thank you very much. My name is Dheeraj, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a very nice presentation. I'm in the API management space since from 2015 around. So 2017, like you said, it started UK open banking. I was part of it as well.
Great.
Since then until now, the same one question has been going around everywhere. Introducing the API gateways can become a single point of failure. So how do you handle it? So yeah, definitely we can architect it in the way to maintain it redundant level like in multi-region and region-wise, but it depends upon the API gateways that you select. So how do you handle that and how best we can answer that when someone asks?
So we have analyzed gateway in two directions, okay. First and foremost, we have analyzed gateway on the security kind of direction as well. So from with respect to customer data. That means we talk about their gateway, which is basically restricting various malwares, various threats. So one of the directions that we have taken, and that's why we basically have an external gateway, which is basically just serving the external traffic. However, having said that, we're not using external gateways, the same gateway provided by a company, we're not using it for internal purposes. We have a different gateway for having our internal clients being managed. One thing which is effectively working for us is if external gateway goes down, nothing happens to the internal systems. That's where we are able to solve this particular problem with respect to multi-region also. Now coming on to the aspect of having a gateway which is spread across multiple regions also, the data which has been there. So what we have done a tie-up with, we've done a tie-up with basically maybe a fintech provider or maybe a kind of a application provider, SaaS software, wherein we are basically working in a way wherein they are confined into the UK region, so that data doesn't go out. And that's where we are basically now working with AWS also, in the similar way that wherein the data confined within the AWS UK region itself. All right? Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Any other last question?
You want to give 5 rupees back to me?
Later. So I had a question regarding scaling the legacy systems. For example, even if our API gateway is scalable, the legacy systems itself, how is it possible to scale them especially?
Absolutely, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
That's where we are interacting with the legacy providers. We are moving to right now ZOS 1 is there, we are moving to ZOS 3 now to resolve this particular scaling infrastructure issues. So there is definitely a complexity involved. Unless until we think from that particular level, we will not be able to think about it. So we have to kind of advance our core layer also, if we are bringing an API layer. So both has to go hand in hand. Otherwise, we'll not be able to achieve the scalable output. Does it answer you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the last one. You can catch up with Dheeraj.
Usually in banking, right, I think they run still mainframes. Do you see any time systems moving away from mainframes to, lot of companies are actually trying, they try.
IBM is just sitting outside.
No, I know, I know. But what I'm trying to actually say is I think with mainframes as well, the license costs are very expensive, right? Because I think there's only one master. We all know about it.
Yeah.
But do you see with there's so many open source projects coming in. I think we talk about microservices, everything, but still I think we stick to mainframes. Do you see any time we moving away from RTOS or mainframe systems to?
I think if I talk about the legacy banks, they will still rely on mainframe. Unless until something drastic happens to mainframe, until something drastic happens to IBM, fingers crossed, otherwise they're going to kill me. But if I talk about digital enabled banks, the new banks that have come up, they are not going on mainframes. They are relying on, if you talk about MongoDB, the non-relational databases, they're relying on that particular whole thing. Like, for example, MongoDB, if I talk about their architecture is basically no mainframe architecture, if I talk about. And which is good, which is evolving at this point of time. But yes, there are pros and cons for that as well. But if I talk about legacy banks, I don't think so. They are going away with mainframe in my lifespan.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dheeraj.
Thank you, Shri.
You guys feel to connect with Dheeraj,